Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name's Colton. I like to talk about Bibles, books, and theology-related things. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, you may know that the Bible that I have chosen to read through this year for my daily devotions, the Bible translation, is the King James Version. I don't have it with me here today, but I've been reading the Reformation Heritage Study Bible, KJV. It's at home, but I do have this one as an example to show you. This is the Thomas Nelson Sovereign Large Print KJV. And I wanted to share my thoughts thus far. I mean, I know I'm not that far in, but I've formulated a lot of thoughts based on my reading. And I want to say it this way. These are 5 reasons to read the King James Version, especially if you are not a KJV onlyist, because I am not. And as a matter of fact, I'm not a fan of that at all. KJV preferred, I get, but onlyism, I'm out. But here are 5 things that have stood out to me in my reading of the KJV and why I think you should give it a try as well.
I fix my eyes on Christ. I fix my
Number 1,
eyes on Christ.
it's a thing that slows you down to digest God's word more. Because it is written in an older style of English, it does, especially if you've only been reading more modern translations most of your life, which I have, it slows you down to really dig in and see what's there. You can't just breeze through it. If you do, you will miss a lot. If you're reading intentionally and you're wanting the Lord to speak to you, which is what Christians should desire when we read the Bible, to hear from God through his word, the KJV is a great option because it does slow you down to digest it. Now, I know some of you are thinking, what about the archaic words I don't understand and all that? I'll address that again here in a second. But I would say this: if you get certain Bibles, like some from the Trinitarian Bible Society or like the Reformation Heritage Study Bible, they do have little asterisks beside a lot of the archaic words that will explain down in the notes or off to the side what that word means in modern English. Okay, but it makes you slow down. The sentence structure, everything, it makes you slow down and really digest, which I think is helpful to me. Number 2, and this kind of goes off of the, well, what if I don't understand some things about it? Okay, this is just my perspective coming from me, who I've spent the majority of my life reading through the ESV, but also other modern translations like the New King James Version, the New American Standard, New Living Translation, etc. What it does is this is what it's done for me. The biblical literacy that I already have in the back of my mind, particularly like from the ESV, informs what I'm reading, so I don't have to wonder a lot of the times about those archaisms because I've already read so many modern English versions multiple times that I know the context well enough and I know what it's talking about most of the time. I'm not saying I have the Bible memorized or anything like that, but I do have this literacy, a biblical literacy from modern English versions in my head, that when I'm reading the KJV, I thought I would be lost a whole lot more often than I am. But that hasn't been the case. It's really been a treasure to read, and me having a modern English understanding in my brain from other versions has helped me to not get tripped up as much. So that may be so for you if you've read the Bible through a lot in other translations. The third reason I would say you should read the KJV, and honestly, this is just one of my reasons I picked it up to begin with this year, is the historical connection. It's really cool to me to be able to read this Bible that has ministered to Christians for 400 plus years and has just been there in our history. You know, it's really cool to me as a fan of someone like Charles Spurgeon or the Puritans to read the same Bible that they had. It's just really cool to have that historical connection to the church in that way. And again, this is not an argument for any sort of onlyism, so don't hear that. But it is a neat thing to be able to connect and read the Bible that these other people have read, and to be able to just be like, I'm reading what Spurgeon would have had in his translation, and I'm enjoying it. I'm reading what J.C. Ryle had, and I'm enjoying it, that sort of thing. So the historical connection, I think, is huge to just be able to read that. I use a lot of commentaries from these older saints in my study, and they had the KJV. So it's just helpful to have that there, in my opinion, to have that historical connection. The fourth point, and this is really going to go against the grain of what the onlyists would say, and this is going to sound funny to some of those types of folks, but believe me when I say reading the KJV has actually given me increased confidence in modern translations like the ESV or the New King James Version. All the talk about missing verses and all that sort of stuff, which I'm not getting into that. That's been addressed a ton. And you know the reason why the ESV doesn't include some verses inline in the text. I wish they were there in brackets. I've made my opinion known about this. But they're not in the oldest manuscripts. That's fine. What I'm trying to say is reading the KJV has affirmed in me that the Bible is the Bible, and that we have God's word, regardless of what translation of God's word you are reading. The underlying manuscripts are faithful and there, and the differences between translations based on, whether it's the TR manuscripts for like the KJV or the modern critical text or the majority text or all those things, we have God's word. And reading the KJV has not turned me into an onlyist at all. It's really just increased my confidence in the Bibles that we have today that are faithful translations. And I hope you would find the same if you picked up the KJV and started reading it. Lastly, and this is just pure opinion, which all this has really been opinion in some sense, the beauty of the Psalms in reading the KJV. I've even heard from some folks, like shout out to the Layman Apologist. I follow him on X. I think I've saw him say, correct me if I'm wrong, brother, if you see this, but I think I've seen him say something to the effect of he only reads the Psalms in the KJV just because of how he loves the beauty that's there. And I have come to totally agree with the beauty that's there. I'm not saying I would only read the Psalms in it, but the Psalms really come alive in a beautiful way in the KJV. The poetic nature of what's there, and then in that older English language, they really captured the poetry very well, in my opinion. So I have enjoyed my time reading the KJV so far. It's not been a burden at all. It's been a beautiful thing. And brothers and sisters, I encourage you, pick up a King James Bible and read through it at least once in your lifetime. You won't regret it. It's a beautiful thing, and you see God's faithfulness throughout the ages to give us his word. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like content like this, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, all those things. I greatly appreciate the support, and I'll see you in the next video.